Just like a little bit of practical advice for maybe people that are new to Imaginal Magick, astral travel, whatever people want to call it. Entering the imagination zone is one that I like to go to.
Totally.
And I know you talk about this in your work a lot, but just as like a quick primer, like if I was a young student and I came up to you and I said, Aidan, I've never done Imaginal Magick before. Could you just give me a quick rundown about what is that about?
Sure. So I would be a dick and I would say, yes, you have.
You're already doing it, stupid.
Exactly. You just have weird expectations about it. So imagine, this is what I would say. So imagine that you woke up in the morning and you were in bed and you really had to pee, right?
I've been
Everybody
there.
does this. Everybody can do it, right? Everybody knows what you're talking about. Now, for some people, what's going to happen is they're actually going to be able to produce like an inner vision where they're lying in bed and they actually feel the pressure on their bladder and the need to pee. This is somebody who is like what I call kind of like a natural hallucinator, right?
Okay.
Like their experience is the full 3D sensoria.
Mm-hmm.
And well, that's not uncommon. It's also not super common. And then you have the people on the other side of that, which don't have any of that experience, but they still know what you're talking about. So the imagination is really that range in between those 2 points, right? And you don't really get to pick where you are on that. There's been a lot of work done in the recent years, particularly about visual stuff, about fantasia, which is kind of the, high fantasia means that you really do see the things that you want to see when you imagine things. And aphantasia is you don't see anything. And that's real. That's there. So there's a small number of people that are, at the max level of fantasia, and there's a small percentage of people who are on the bottom end. Mm-hmm. And everybody else is somewhere in that spectrum. And then if we kind of extrapolate that, from what I see, people also have that same range with other senses. So like the person that can like lie down and imagine themselves needing to pee, and they can see themselves in bed and they can kind of have a sense about needing to pee. That's one person. The other person can kind of be aware of what it would be like to be lying down, but they can actively feel the need to pee, right?
Yeah.
So all we're talking about is different senses being heightened in this thing. And I don't know if I think the fantasia is purely used in a visual sense, but I haven't dug in. And so that's the most important thing going in, is knowing that you probably are somewhere on that spectrum. And you probably already kind of know where you are. And you can probably do some work to increase that a little bit. But people who are all the way in the aphantasia side are not in any way likely to end up all the way on the full kind of hallucinator side. And so you just have to be really aware of that. That's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really just looking at and going, okay, when I think of things, I'm imagining things, right? But I may not be aware of it. Like if I can think of eating lunch and I think about what I want for lunch, that's my imagination. And you can do magic at that level, even if you don't kind of see yourself with the bowl of noodle soup or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to have that. And so really what it is it's a game of, and I really do suggest kind of using it as a game of, as relaxedly as possible, just playing in that zone, going, okay, if I was in the kitchen, what would that be like? And when you're not in the kitchen, right? If I were to go outside right now, what would that be like? But don't try and force it. You're not trying to see it more clearly. You're not trying to feel it more clearly. You're just suggesting to your mind that you would be interested in knowing what that is.
To hear the rest of my interview with Aidan Wachter, as well as a bunch of other cool shit, check out the Lux Occult Podcast, available wherever you hear podcasts and on YouTube. Thank you so much to everybody supporting me on Patreon. I really fucking appreciate it. And thank you so much to everyone listening. Stay strong and stay fucking curious.
Lux Occult is a part of the Green Mushroom Podcast Network. To hear more great independent productions like the one you just listened to, visit our catalog at tgmpodcastnetwork.com.